topic for our times, and we're just lucky enough to have some Muslim students here from Saudi Arabia and Jordan who are willing to open some conversations with us about their religion, about their culture. I'm Karen Pierce. I'm the Assistant Director of the Post-Professional Program in the Physical Therapy Department, and I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to spend the last 8 months as a professor and as well as a fellow student with our panelists here. And it's been a good experience, and I feel like it's an experience that I want to share with you, and they want to share with you because they have felt welcome on our campus. They haven't had problems with any students or anything here, but the media, what they see in the media has been somewhat disturbing, and they wanted to have the opportunity to speak for themselves. And the way I see this event is that there are a lot of stereotypes out there where we, because of the actions of one or a few, or in one part of the world, we may project that onto a whole group, and then we fail to see people as individuals. And I think we'd all like to be seen for who we really are, and I feel like this is an opportunity for us to see them for who they really are and for what Islam intends to be. And it's the basis for forming authentic relationships. So with that, I'd like to invite each of my students to introduce themselves.
Okay. My name is Mohammed Farham. I have been in the state 5 years. I went to Western Illinois University, and I have my master's degree from there. Then I came here. I'm really happy for being here. I feel very welcome here, and thank you for granting to allow us to talk about ourselves today. Thank you.
Mohammed, before you sit down, can you tell them what area of physical therapy you practice in?
Yeah, I practiced 2 years in pediatric in Jordan.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming today. My name is Abdullah Juraisi. I was born here in the United States back in 1980 in Indiana. At the age of 2, I went back with my family to Saudi Arabia and lived most of my life over there. I get my bachelor degree in physical therapy in 2004, and I worked in considered one of the biggest rehabilitation facility back in Saudi Arabia. Most of the patients, I worked for around 9 years before I went back here to the United States to continue my education. Most of the patients I worked with was stroke patients, spinal cord injury patients, traumatic brain injury patients, amputee patients, and neuromuscular diseases. I had a chance to come back here to the United States back in 2013. I get my master's degree in 2014, and I came here to interest to get my doctoral degree in physical therapy. Sports is one of my favorite hobbies, and soccer is coming #1 for me.
Football.
Hello everyone, my name is Mujtaba Al-Ghazal. I am from Saudi Arabia. I got my bachelor degree from Saudi Arabia, and I completed my master's degree in Concordia University in Wisconsin, and I'm here to complete my doctoral degree. Before that, I've been working for like 8 months in Saudi Arabia. I practiced a lot of physical therapy in multidisciplinary patients. I got a neuro patient and sport injuries and stroke patients, and I'm here to complete my doctorate degree at Andrews University.
Hey, what?
Hello everyone, thanks for coming. My name is Malik. I will say it in the Arabic pronunciation, Malik al-Anizi, and in English pronunciation, Malik al-Nazi. I'm from Saudi Arabia. I've been here in the United States for 3 years. I earned my master from Concord University at Wisconsin. I like soccer. This is you will hear this from every single soccer. I have family with me. My family includes my daughter and son. I'm here at Andrews for continuing my education and getting my doctorate degree in physical therapy, manual therapy. I like American foods, American food, non-healthy food, exactly. And that's it. I have a slogan for tonight, which is "Hear from me, not hear about me." That's it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
My name is Firas. I am from Saudi Arabia. I have been here in the United States for 3 years and 4 months. I completed my master's degree in rehabilitation science at Concord University, Wisconsin. I like playing soccer, and I had a chance last semester and this semester to participate in the university competition. I really enjoyed playing soccer and meeting students from different departments. Thank you for coming.
Hello everyone. My name is Abdul Mohsen Al-Rumi. I'm from Saudi Arabia too. I have been here in the US for 3 years now. I got my master's degree from University of Pittsburgh in physical therapy. I'm here now in this fascinating university to get my doctoral degree in physical therapy. I love meeting new people from different places and different ethnicities. And thank you for coming.
So kind of the overview of our program at this point, now that you've gotten to meet students. First, we're going to have an overview of Islam. Then we'll learn a few Arabic words. And then I'll ask them some questions about their culture and some sensitive issues. And finally, we will hear a word from King Abdullah of Jordan, actually via YouTube. And then a statement about religious liberty in the United States from our own Dr. Nick Miller. And at that point, we'll have the opportunity to break and have some refreshments. But they all turn it over to Mohammed.
Okay. First thing, Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
If you guys hear this word and a lot, this is how we greet people. And this is how we like to start our conversation with anyone. Which means peace be open you. So this is how we're greeting people at the beginning. Islam means, the word Islam is mean who surrounded to God, or who submit his deed or his to God. So and also it's good also if you go to if you know Arabic, the gender of the origin of this word is coming also is mean Islam. So it's like could have different meaning. This word is Allah. This is how written in Arabic. Allah is just the Arabic word for God. Some people say, oh, it's not our God. We have Christian God. It's not the Muslims' God. Like each language, they have different like words for name of God. Like in Spanish, I think it's mean Deus.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that we're talking about something different. So this is part of Bible in Arabic. It's Genesis chapter 1 verses 1. You can see the fourth word in from the right, Allah, how it's written in Bible in Arabic. And we know that Bible is older than Quran. So this is what exists even before Islam exists. So when, like Muhammad didn't bring something different, he just was talking about same thing. We have 99 names for God. So also I want to present, like, to make clear for people that we're talking about same thing. If we look to this name is kind of adjective or kind of description for the God. Like he's the creator, he's the merciful. So I think if you compare this characteristic in between Quran and Bible, you're gonna find the same characteristic of the same thing that we talk about there. We have in Islam we have 5 pillars, and these things we have every Muslim they have to do it in their life. So I'll start with the faith.
The testimony of faith is saying with confession, La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. And this thing means there is no true God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. The first part, there is no God, there is no true God but God, means that man has the right to be worshipped but God alone.
Yeah.
And the God has neither partner nor son. The testimony of faith is called Shahada, a simple formula which should be said when with conviction in order to convert to Islam.
The second pillar is the prayer, and we pray 5 prayers a day, and it's mandatory. And if like you want to do voluntary praying, you can do. And we pray toward Mecca, the place that we locate in the Alps now because we are overseas. So we locate the direction of our prayer toward Mecca, which is the first picture in the beginning, in the presentation. And we believe that our prayer keeps the connection between the God and person. So we keep it like, we don't disconnect our spirituality with God. And it's the backbone of our religion, and we believe it's the origin of the good things and protect your spirituality from doing bad things. And its definition, it's the like traveling your spiritual toward the God when you pray. It's like levels reach to crying when you pray. That's the high level of like fearing or feeling the God.
The third pillar in Islam is zakat. And zakat is not the same as ordinary spontaneous charity, such as what we give in the street. This is we call sadaqah. Zakat in Islam is different. In Arabic, zakat means to purify. And this is by sharing of the gifts you have from Allah. And we consider it as a duty of the religion. Zakah is, the percentage of zakah is 2.5 of your total assets that you have for a whole year. And this could be saving in a bank, or if you have gold or silver, or if you have stocks. The zakah paid voluntarily, and only if the family can afford to feed themselves first. So zakat is not intended to bankrupt families. So if you have, for example, loans or debt, you don't have to give the zakat. I'm going to mention quickly the benefit of giving zakat. First of all, obeying God, being a true Muslim, and by freeing oneself from the love of possession and greed. Another one is to protect the society, so that the poor don't feel that they need to turn to crimes such as stealing. Also acknowledging that whether we are rich or poor, this is God's choice, so we should help those who has chosen to make poor. Another thing that can make us more fair society, so that the poor don't get poorer while the rich is getting richer.
Thank you. So I will talk about the fourth pillar in Islam, which is fasting Ramadan. Before I start talking about Ramadan, I have to define the fasting. So fasting is abstaining from food, drink, and sexual relation from dawn until dusk. Then you break your fast at sunset with special meal. We call it in Arabic is iftar, which you start with eating dates. There is some goal of fasting, and one of them is to remember poor people by feeling what they feel and suffer. Then you can help them. Another goal is to control yourself, to be patient. So not everything you want you can get, and of course to acquire reward from the God because you obey the order. There's two types of fasting. One of them is optional or additional. When you do when you need to do some good deeds. Another one is obligatory, which is fasting Ramadan, and it's for 1 month every year. And it's the 9th month in Islamic calendar. And this is the fourth pillar in Islam, this exact one. By the way, it's coming in 45 days, I think. There are some excuses for not fasting: illness, travel, old age, severe thirst and hunger, pregnancy, and menstruation. And you will hear about the fifth pillar from
Okay, this is what Mustafa talked about, which is Al-Kaaba. We face this direction when we want to pray. And talking about the fifth pillar, which is Hajj or pilgrimage, it's the time where people from different countries, from different ethnicities, from different social status, gather in one place, worship God, do some steps in an order, and they don't do it just for physical activity. It's actually, it has a purpose. And since I had this opportunity to make Hajj, I can tell you more about the feelings. I'm not going to talk about the details because you might not understand most of it, but it's really a spiritual journey instead of just doing physical things. So the biggest reward for this is, like I like to call it, I like to call it, it's an opportunity for you to have a reset button for your sins and your life, your spiritual status. So if you do this sincerely and following the steps and the directions of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, you will get that reward. It's not easy and it's not guaranteed to everyone goes there to get that reward. This building, what we call Kaaba, is made or built by Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, and his son. So one of the stages in Hajj is sacrificing, like commemorate the sacrificing of Abraham to his son, that when he was told by God to sacrifice his son and then he didn't, then God gave him like a sheep to sacrifice instead. And we do this every year at that time. And Hajj also includes a holiday, which is even for people who do not do Hajj can celebrate, which is the festival of sacrifice or Eid al-Adha. So Hajj contains many stages and it contains more than one worship. So we pray, we sometimes fast, we sacrifice, and we like build anew and make our relationship with God stronger and stronger. Thank you.
One thing I want to say before Muhammad goes on with telling you 6 things that go into their beliefs is that their idea of sacrifice, when they sacrifice the animal, what they're doing is they sacrifice the animal and give the meat to the poor as a gift, as a good deed. It doesn't necessarily have the same symbolism as in our religion, but it does. It is an offering.
Okay, each Muslims, they have to believe in 6 pillars, and they cannot be considered as a Muslim unless he believes in all 6 faiths. The first one, believe in God. The second one, believe in his angels. There's many angels, and most of the kind of messengers from God to his prophet. And the most famous one for us is Jibreel or Gabriel. And he's the one who sent the Quran to Muhammad. And the third, believe in his messenger, or his prophet. God have many prophets. They mentioned in Quran or Bible, included Abraham, Jesus, Moses, Zach, David. So all of them is mentioned in Quran and Bible at the same time. So everybody, each Muslim, they have to believe in that these people are coming from God and they are prophets from God. Also, Muslims, they have to believe in his books. There's you guys call them Old Testament and New Testament. The New Testament is the Bible, we call it in Arabic Injil. There's another, I think the first 3 is the Old Testament is coming from Moses and David, Torah and Torah. Also, we have to believe in the last day, which is Judgment Day. So in the last day, God gonna judge us according to our deeds. The good, God judge if we have good deeds, compare how much we have good deeds compared with the bad deeds. So if you have good deeds, you go to heaven. If you have good deeds more than bad deeds, you go to heaven. Also, we believe in destination. Maybe you want to talk about this more?
I'll just say that he's meaning predestination, that God has a plan for your life in advance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's exactly the same way that you guys believe. It's not different than Christianity. You have the choice to do what good or not, but at the same time, God has a plan about what you're going to do in the future. So I think it's exactly how it is mentioned in Christianity. People of the book. We have this, we in Arabic call Ahlul Kitab. They mentioned in Quran who believe in these books that I just mentioned them, the Injil or Torah. We call them people of the book. God, but this is from Quran, say that all of these people believe in the same God. And you can read it here in the surah or verses in Quran.
Who does that include?
They include the Christianity and Jewish and Muslims who have the books like Quran, Old Testament and New Testament. This kind of very famous verses in Quran, it should say how much we available the life the person's life. And he, like, if you kill one person, you kill all in all the world. So it shows how, like, killing somebody in Islam is something really, like, is not easy. Actually, this picture in Jordan, we actually also so proud in Jordan that we have Christianity and Muslims in Jordan. Christianity is part of our history in Jordan. We have churches, church back to like having like very old church back to thousands of years from Roman time, and I believe some guys have seen it there. So it's part of our history. They are Jordanian, they're part of us. We didn't have any discrimination, and you can see how much the church and the mosque very close to each other. This is in capital of Jordan, Amman, and you see how much they're close. So you can see how much we're close there too. Thank you.
A couple of things I wanted to bring out that were interesting to me about Islam is that although they have a different understanding of the nature of Christ and his role in our salvation, they do believe that he's in heaven with God now, and that he will be coming again. So they're looking forward to the second coming of Jesus. And they expect that he is going to fight the Antichrist, that he is going to win, and that he is going to lead believers on the earth for a period of time. And I think that's very interesting, and something that is close about what they believe in Jesus. And Jesus, they say his name Isa. Is that right, Isa? And just like Malik said, peace be upon him, after he said the Prophet Muhammad's name, they say peace be upon him after they say Jesus' name as well. And we were talking about Jesus' nature, and they have a clear understanding that he was created by a miracle, by the word of God. You know, it's something, the translation, the Quran said, and God said the word be, and it is, or something like that, as far as like what we say, the I am a little bit. But by God's word, he was created in Mary's womb by a miracle. And that his nature was like Adam, like God created Adam perfectly in the beginning, that Jesus had that same nature. Is that that's an understanding that we came to as a discussion as we were preparing this presentation, and I thought that was worth sharing with you, because some people think that Muslims are against Jesus, and that is not the case. They actually value his message, and they value him from a different perspective, but we have some foundations that are similar, like the nature of how he came to be in the world through the Word of God, as well as the fact that he's coming again. I explained the word Adventist. That part of our name is Seventh-day Adventist, means that we're looking forward to Jesus coming again. So this next part, they're going to explain some Arabic words to us, some of the greetings in their life that they just use in their daily activities. And you'll see how their spirituality is integrated into even simple interactions like hello and goodbye. And some of these words may be scary to us because of what we may have heard of how they were used by terrorists, which is not the way they're normally used by Muslims that are ordinary citizens. And so I think it's important for us to hear these words, how they're used by these guys in their daily life, and what they mean to them.
Okay, first one is inshallah. Actually, this is coming to that we really don't know what's going to happen in the future, so we always say it. So like it's mean God willing. So to make like when you say it, is you're not really like sure what's going to happen in the future. So you say inshallah, like God willing, it's going to happen. So second one. Okay, second one is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay. This is if we start anything in our things, like if you start anything, it's good to start it with this word, like with the name of the God. Like your day, even like when you read the Quran, you start with this word. So it's like we use it to start anything.
So Muhammad, do I understand when you sit down to eat food even,
Yeah.
rather than saying a blessing on the food, you say this, even you're eating in the name of God. You know, we say whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do it all to the glory of God. Well, this is how they integrate that concept into their life. Before they start any activity, including eating their food, they would say this in the name of God.
MashaAllah, it's mean as God wills. We say it like exactly when we see something like beautiful and amazing how God created. Yeah. The last one, let's keep ma'as-salama, is we like to, as greeting people with peace, we like to leave them with peace. So we say ma'as-salama is mean I'm leaving you with peace. Also, maybe I didn't put it there, I just remember when we start talking about it, we say Allahu Akbar. Most of you guys hear it when somebody's gonna kill somebody. But it's coming originally from the call, the prayer call. Like the prayer call, they start, it's just calling for people to come to the mosque and pray. That's it. But I don't know if they misuse it for a different way. But it's just coming, it's just we use it when, like, in prayer call. And
So you say the prayer call?
it's mean God great.
God is great.
Yeah, God's great.
And I've seen it just in some short videos, like when I saw a video of some Syrian men trying to dig a child out of the rubble after a bomb. And when they found the child alive, a little girl, they were all yelling this word, Allahu Akbar, because they were praising God and giving Him the glory for finding the child. Malik, you explained to me, when is another time you might say this? What time? I think he said like mashallah, but Allahu Akbar also, maybe when you see something beautiful, it's the handiwork of God.
We believe that Allahu Akbar means God is greatest and greater than everything. Like the example you just said about the bomb and when they were digging, and so that means God is greater even those enemies or those terrorists who are bombing. So.
And even, you use the example, what if you see a beautiful mountain or the sunset?
Yeah, there's another word we call subhanallah. I don't know how to translate it in English, but I think it means God is, what is it? Glory to Allah. So He's helping me. So yeah, glory to Allah. When we see something beautiful and amazing, and we think that it's hard to create or do, so we say this thing.
Thank you. So for the next topic, I'm going to take off this microphone and let them pass it around. But Ian, one of the questions that comes up with Western versus Arabic culture, or in Islam, is we question whether or not they respect women and how much freedom and rights women have. And in talking with these guys, and I have actually had the opportunity to meet the wife of Malik and Faraz, which was a pleasure. I was able to meet them where it was a gathering of just women, so they didn't wear their hijab, and so we could just be girls together. And some of their friends as well. We're going to talk about some of those things, but it'll be easier if they can pass the mic around, so excuse me. I'm just going to bring up a couple of situations. They're fairly simple, but they illustrate the point that these guys care about their wives. One of them is, as we were planning this event, we were having a hard time finding a date when we could all meet, and we couldn't meet on a Tuesday night because why, Abdullah?
Yeah, actually, my wife, she's also studying at Western Michigan University, and so that's why I live in Kalamazoo. So it's going to be much easier for her to go to her school. And on Tuesday night she had classes, so I couldn't come to the meeting because I need to stay with my kids at home.
And then I have a question for Mujtaba as well. He has told me about when his first son was born. How long were you able to stay home from work and take care of your wife?
Yeah, I stayed for 2 whole months, just doing like home stuff and cooking. Because we were away from our family and we have... He's married. We have no one to help us. Just I organized my classes with my the whole meal, the breakfast meal and the lunch and dinner every day for 2 months.
And then I know that Abdullah has some more to say about what it was like to work with women colleagues at the rehab hospital.
Yeah, since I was working in a hospital, and I have also a colleague, a female colleague, some of them physical therapists, some of them social workers, and sometimes I get frustrated because they are giving us hard time as a male comparing to the females. So yeah, usually the female they can get away with a lot of things like coming late, and they can have excuses for leaving and absence, and yeah, this is one of the things. And I remember one time I spoke to my manager. I said, "Why are you not doing what you are doing with me? I mean, warning or saying something." He said, "Well, come on, they are, ladies. You have to." This is one thing. The other thing, when we talk about salary-wise, the female is taking the same exact amount of salary. They are not getting less than the male.
And in addition to this, besides equal pay, when the woman takes her salary home, what does she do with it?
Yeah, also it's well known in our culture that the female, they don't have the responsibility to share their income with the, the husband has to do everything. Yeah, so she has a lot of money and she can do whatever she wants.
Can you comment on the maternity leave policy?
Yeah, for the maternity leave policy, she can get 4 months leave with a full pay.
Wow. That's actually a requirement in their country. I have a question for Malik now. He talked about this before. Now, women aren't allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, but he said, oh, but that doesn't limit them any. How do you accommodate that?
Yeah. Before I talk about this, I will comment on what just said. I couldn't imagine at the beginning when we were discussing about this presentation and Professor Karen asked me, she was testing my love or appreciation for my wife. So I didn't understand this at the beginning. But when she explained to me how people are thinking about us and about our relationship with women in general, I understood this and I started to tell her something that I feel is normal, and sometimes I feel like I'm stupid telling this thing. Why? Why should I tell you that I really love my wife? Should I say this? Come on. So how can I insult someone and love him at the same time? That's impossible. So this is why I commented on what Adara just said. And another thing for the marriage, when we get after getting married, the husband is supposed to pay a dowry Sometimes it's ranged from $15,000 to $20,000 for the woman, and she is she's free to do whatever she wants to do with it. It's for her to use it, not for the ceremony, no, just for prepare herself. So, how come that we can insult? We are insulted actually. Yeah, so about the driving issue, I know that it's weird in our country that women do not drive, but this is it, actually. And I don't want people to understand that this is part of our religion. No, it's not. It's not part of our religion. This is a cultural issue. And when I come here, my wife is driving, so this is something you need to know. But when I go back home, I can't let her drive because it's not allowed. But another thing, that doesn't mean she is limited and she cannot do anything. To understand this, you have to understand the community, the family in Saudi Arabia. It's totally different. Like when we get married, we are not we still relate to the bigger family. So my cousins, her brothers, my brothers are still responsible for her and for me and for my kids. So if I leave and there's nobody to take her out, someone, even her father sometimes is responsible to take her and finish her things up. So it's not limited. It's not limiting her. I know we wish that they could drive, but at the same time, it's not insulting. It's not limiting. It's not a big problem. People are making a problem out of this point, and we are not complaining actually.
Another thing that I understand is that a lot of families just hire a driver and she can just go wherever she wants.
That's another burden on our shoulder.
Abdullah, did you have something more?
I want to mention that even if she's not driving, but by the way, Saudi Arabia is one of the Muslim countries, not the only Muslim country, and there is a lot of Muslim countries, they allow women to drive. Actually, all of them except our country. Even the Saudi females in our country, I think they are spoiled because they have their own driver and it's much easier for him. Believe me, I get very stressful from driving. Yeah, it's you know, the traffic and the weather and all of that. It's not easy. What if you just sit behind and use your cell phone until you arrive?
He might talk about the dowry. Also, women, like the marriage in Islam is like contract. After divorce, like if in case of divorce, woman puts number at the beginning of the marriage, and it could be as much she wants. It could be like $10,000-$20,000, and when she gets divorced, the man have to pay her this money. So also like she protected even after divorce.
One of the things I want to say is that as a professor and realizing that as people started applying to our post-professional program and the majority of the international students were coming from Muslim countries and they were mostly men. Originally we had 2 female applicants as well, but they deferred their enrollment until next year because of visa issues. I was thinking, how am I going to relate to these people and how are they going to treat me? And I want to say it's been delightful to work with these guys. They've been very respectful. In fact, they asked me, Malik came up to me the first day, because we tend to, in our post-professional program, we want to work as colleagues. They're already physical therapists in their own countries. We're physical therapists. We call them colleagues. We say you can call us by their first name. They wanted to call me by my title. So instead of calling me Professor Pierce like my entry-level students, they came up with Professor Karen. But I just know that they were doing that because they wanted to respect me, and they have treated me very respectfully. And I've seen, maybe I'll make Feroz blush. He got married during Christmas vacation. His face. And I got to meet his wife, and she is a lovely woman, and he's very happy to have her in his life. And this is normally something that Muslim men would not talk about in public, but I'm talking about it to make a point that they value, treasure their wives, and that's partly why they cover in public, is because the woman is so special to them and so precious that no one else deserves the privilege to see her. And I can tell you, because I got to see them without their hijab, they are very beautiful women. And one other thing is, Mujtaba, his wife was unable to join him for the first semester. And she had a baby a month before Christmas. And so when he went home to get her and bring her here with him, he was going to meet his baby daughter for the first time. And he was trying to explain to me what was going to happen, but he was excited and the English words weren't coming. So the gesture he was making to show me the baby, he couldn't say baby, he couldn't think of the word, but a new girl. This gesture, if I see an Arab man making this gesture with that face, about so excited to meet his girl for the first time, I can't imagine that they do not value the women in their culture. It may be expressed differently in their culture, but the value is there. We have a few more minutes, and there's some important things. Probably one of the biggest issues is violence. We see a lot of violence on TV associated with Islam. Some of you have actually lived in Middle Eastern countries and had to be evacuated when violence came there. But one of the things that these men would like you to understand is that it's not necessarily inherent in Islam. And I just want to share with you, before they give you some examples and a clip from King Abdullah explaining some of this, that these guys, they have agreed not to be offended, and they wanted to hear questions that people had. So I shared with them what many people had shared with me when they knew we were going to do this presentation. What is the biggest fear among Americans? And that is, we think Muslims want to make the whole world Muslims, and they will do so by force if necessary, and they're willing to kill anybody who's not a Muslim. And when I say that, look at the faces, okay? They had never heard that before, and they're Muslims. And they work in their countries, in their culture, they work with Muslims. So they said, but we are not doing this. And I said, no, but you're just waiting for the opportunity. And they are able to joke with me and say, well, why don't we take you now? Because we are more than you. There's 6 of us that only work. And obviously I'm still standing here, so it worked out okay. And we were able to talk about that. And I feel that that's a really important stereotype for us to break, in that these men are physical therapists. They work on healing people. They love their wives. They love their children. And when they go to the mosque, they're going there to make a connection with God and make sure they're on the right path, and they are keeping that steady, and that they want to be on the right path and make constructive contributions in their community. So anyway, any of you want to make comments about peace in Islam or about in your culture? I know some of you have talked to me about gun control. That's kind of an interesting topic. But
Yeah, first of all, I would like to start with the hadith from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Also, it was mentioned in the presentation. If you kill someone, in Islam, it's considered that you killed the whole people. So it's a really bad things to do, and that was what we learned since we are kids, and we grow up with this kind of knowledge and information. This is one thing. Other thing that also I want to highlight about this is, I don't know, maybe some of the American, they forget that there is a lot of non-Muslim living in our country. I mean, for me, I experienced, since I work in a hospital, different kind of nationality working with me, from the United States, from Canada, from Australia, South Africa, Philippines, many kind. I cannot number all of them, and a lot of them they are not non-Muslim, and they work with us, and they live with us, and then some of them I consider my friend, and they work with me with nothing between us. As a colleagues, they share even their personal issues with me. So we respect them, and we also respect their choices of choosing the religion they think it's the right religion. Yeah, that's it.
A verse from the Quran that a student in the entry-level program from Egypt quoted to me, and I later read it for myself. I have read most of the Quran. It said, "Say to the unbeliever, you have your religion, and I have mine. Go in peace." And I think one of the things about that text is that the idea was that it's okay for someone else to have their own beliefs, but beyond that, in the Quran, it calls Jews and Christians also believers. So there's several levels to that. But that was something I read for myself, and other people besides this group from another country quoted that to me.
I know that some of you are thinking right now and saying in their minds, ISIS. I know the character of ISIS is all about Islam, but the concept of ISIS has nothing to do with Islam.
That's right.
To be honest, and you can see, if you guys are suffering one time from ISIS, we are suffering 10 times from ISIS. They kill, like I could say, they kill 5 Muslims for each non-Muslim. So they are bombing mosques in Saudi Arabia right now, and mosques are a symbol of Islam. So how come that is belonging to Islam? I can't imagine this. So don't say that. I know it's being said in media that ISIS is from Islam, and because these people are interpreting some of the verses of Quran and using it, and then people just because of this are judging all Muslim by ISIS. So my point is, could I judge Christian people by the KKK group?
I will.
So this is the same point. Thank you.
Very good.
I remember the terrorist attack that happened in Belgium. Is 1 week before that, this same terrorist attack happened in Turkey for Muslims, and like more people killed at this accident more than who killed in Belgium. But the media here didn't show anything about the Turkey, didn't show that many Muslims killed by ISIS, same thing. And I'll tell you, like Muslims who killed by ISIS is much more than who not Muslim. So we are the most target for them. Other thing, also in Jordan, we have a pilot, he killed maybe 1 year ago by ISIS. They bring him in the cage, and it really looks so ugly. How like it's in the YouTube, you can see it. So we really, like as much as my medics say, is really we suffer from them more than you guys do. Yeah, thank you.
We're running out of time, but I wanted to invite Nick Miller up to the front. He's going to say a few words about religious freedom in America, the rights that Muslims have to practice their religion, and how that relates to Seventh-day Adventist freedom to practice their religion.
Well, I first want to commend the courage of my brothers here for coming and doing this. Can you imagine if you were in a Muslim country asked to come to the front and defend and explain 2,000 years of Christianity, the Crusades and the Inquisition and everything that goes with that package, and then the gender issues in the West. We may have questions about some of their gender issues, but what about us? And that's connected with Christianity, apparently, Christian countries. So there are complexities to all our cultures, and the willingness of non-theologians, these are laymen, they don't have special training in these areas to come and do this. They've given us a gift this evening. And especially in light of, it's not just insults that are happening these days. Since the San Bernardino attacks, hate crimes have tripled against Muslims and Muslim targets in the U.S. So there's been nearly 200 to 250 just over the last few months. This is, in some ways, a test of our commitment to religious liberty principles, which you're talking about. And, of course, America, we're well known for our stand on religious liberty. And yet, as a practical matter, it really only extends to people that we have respect for, right? A core element of religious liberty is human dignity, recognizing in the other a common humanity. And when we see these kinds of hate crimes happening, what we're seeing is a breakdown in our sense of the dignity of the other. And therefore, religious freedom is only for those that are on the inner circle. And I see our society sliding that direction, unfortunately. You know, Christ dealt with this in his own culture. In the Jewish world, there was an other, wasn't there? The Samaritans were associated with it. It was believed their religion was started by the devil. You read in John, it talks about them accusing Christ. You are a Samaritan and you have a demon. You talk about demonizing the other. Well, this is literally what the Jews did to the Samaritans. They demonized them. And this makes all the more powerful the stories of Jesus' encounters with the Samaritans, right? Think about the story of the Good Samaritan. The punchline there, you don't fully understand. Christ wasn't just saying he was a neighbor whom you should help. He was saying he was an other, a neighbor who you can learn from. He says, the Good Samaritan, go and be like him. Taking this group that the Jews demonized and said, there is something fundamental you can learn from them. And in a sense, that's the basis of human respect. Not somebody you just care for, but people that you learn from creates a sense of true equality and dignity, which is the basis of religious freedom. I think if Christ was telling the Good Samaritan story again today, who would the Good Samaritan be? I tend to think it would be a Muslim imam, right? Christ didn't agree with the Samaritans fully. In fact, he tells the woman at the well that it's the Jews that have the proper understanding. And yet he chooses the Samaritan to teach a lesson to the Jews. And that is the basis of true religious freedom. Our neighbors sitting up here, our friends, because of the climate that's happening, they are truly in need of neighbors and friends who will be willing to put their necks out to help break some ugly stereotypes that we find rampant in our community today. Will you choose to be one of those friends and neighbors? God bless us as we wrestle with this as a community.
Build friendships with our Muslim neighbors. These guys have some advice for you. We also have some other Muslim students in the audience. Would any of you that are here be comfortable standing? Here. And then there are a number of professors as well. Dr. Metz, behind you. Merklin, Lester Merklin, Glenn Russell, Bruce Moyer, Dr. LaBianca, Roger Kuhn, Anyway, there are a number of professors here as well who have a special interest. They may have spent time over in the Middle East, or they teach intercultural studies, or there's archaeology students that go to Jordan. So some of them are in the audience, so when you break up to mingle, you can talk with them as well as our panelists. And let's see, Muhammad wanted to say something.
There's an unofficial club, it's called Islamic Adventist Relationship. And they do a lot of work. They do this like an advertisement for this event, and they really did a lot of work. I just want to say thank you for them. Valerie and Steven, can you stand up? And Jessica, she lived in like 3 years in Jordan and Syria. Also, Rebecca was she left, so thank you.
Well, King Abdullah, are we going to hear from him?
Yes.
Actually, King Abdullah is king of the Jordan, so I'm really proud that he said the same.
This is what?
He said for, I think it's United
European Union.
Yeah.
Is important to clarify what it really means to be a Muslim. And I and countless other Muslims have been taught from our earliest years that our religion demanded respect and caring for others. The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, none of you has faith until you love for your neighbor what you love for yourself. This is what it means to be a Muslim. Among the very names of God we hear the compassionate, the all-merciful. All my life, every day, I have heard and used the greetings, Assalamu alaikum. I wish for the other to be blessed with peace. This is what it means to be a Muslim. More than 1,000 years ago, before the Geneva Conventions, Muslim soldiers were ordered not to kill a child, a woman, or an old person, not to destroy a tree, not to harm a priest, not to destroy a church. These are the same values of Islam we were taught in school as children, not to destroy or desecrate a place where God is worshipped, not a mosque, not a church, not a synagogue. This history, geography, and future bind us. Let no one separate us, because together we can create pillars of mutual respect that will support the common good for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.